Havana Prime had grown from a ragged mining outpost into a thriving colony of steel towers and glass domes. Cargo haulers streamed through the orbiting docks, their holds packed with threxium, an element rare across the stars, but buried deep beneath the planet's crust. Markets bustled under translucent canopies, where settlers haggled over goods from a dozen worlds. To visitors, it was a picture of progress. To veterans like Elias Rourke, it was also a target. From the command balcony of the peacekeeping garrison, he studied the orbital lanes. Small patrol corvettes drifted along lazy vectors, too few to deter anyone determined. The colonists trusted the Council's promises of protection, but promises did not stop plasma fire. Rourke adjusted the cuffs of his dark uniform, forcing the thought aside. He had learned patience. Peace endured when vigilance was constant, even if others had forgotten. That vigilance was not shared in the heart of the galaxy. The council chamber stretched like a cathedral, domes of crystalline alloy glowing with faint blue light. Delegates filled the tiers in a storm of color and noise, robes brushing against polished stone as translators hummed. Murals along the ceiling showed ancient victories, wars ended, alliances sealed. Humanity's war with the Council 2 centuries earlier was not among them. That omission was deliberate. Council Speaker Kellerith, tall and insectoid, tapped his claw against a crystal pillar. Order. We convene to address disputes along the Havana frontier. Reports of raids grow frequent. Some claim the humans are unsettled. That provoked laughter among several delegates. A Salvari merchant lord waved one of his jeweled hands. Unsettled? Humans bark loudly at shadows. Their fleets are merchants' toys, not soldiers' blades. A deep-voiced elder from the Cravan leaned forward, scales dull with age. You forget yourself. Humanity is not to be mocked. I fought in the war you dismiss. I saw cities turn to glass in a night. His gaze swept the chamber. It was not myth. They burned brighter than anyone cornered. The laughter dimmed but did not vanish. A younger delegate whispered, thinking no one heard. Stories from fossils. Humans today are tame. Elias Rourke sat silently in the human envoys section, his expression steady. He let the words pass without reaction. To respond would only feed the dismissal. Still, his jaw clenched at the contempt. The elders remembered truth. The young played with fire they did not understand. A stir rippled through the chamber as the great doors parted. Varys Cauthon entered with deliberate swagger, flanked by armored retainers. The Threxerai warlord wore plates of black chitin streaked with crimson dye, trophies from conquests hanging at his belt. His eyes gleamed with hunger as he addressed the hall without request for recognition. You waste time with caution. The frontier is ripe, and weakness invites taking. The Dominion does not wait for permission. He smirked toward Rourke. Humans occupy land too rich for their feeble hands. We will correct this imbalance. Murmurs erupted. Some muttered approval, others outrage, but many stayed silent. Rourke rose, voice measured. You speak of conquest in the council's chamber. That is not correction. It is piracy. Varys laughed, sharp and cruel. Piracy? No. Destiny. Your kind was tolerated out of pity. You should thank the elders for sparing you. Without their intervention, humanity would be dust. He turned slowly, savoring the moment. They claim you are dangerous when roused. I say that is myth. Prove me wrong if you dare. The chamber buzzed with tension. Some delegates leaned forward, eager for confrontation. Others shook their heads wary. The elders looked down in silence, their warnings already ignored. Rourke's reply was calm. The galaxy does not need us roused. Pray you never succeed in doing so. The warlord's grin widened. Empty threats. Words are wind. Action defines power. The debate fractured into shouting. One faction demanded sanctions against the Threxerai. Another called for investigation, delay, endless procedure. Voices collided, none stronger than the weight of their own pride. Then the chamber lights dimmed, replaced by the flashing red of emergency protocol. A courier drone streaked through the air, projecting a feed above the assembly. Gasps cut through the noise. The image showed Halvanar Prime. Explosions blossomed along the orbital ring, civilian freighters torn apart by lances of plasma. Colonists screamed in garbled calms before static consumed them. On the ground, towers crumbled under bombardment, the marketplace that had bustled hours earlier now fire and ruin. The Dominion crest burned in the corner of the feed, Varys's mark of conquest. The chamber fell silent. Speaker Kellerith rasped, "By the accord and attack!" The projection shifted. A Threxerai captain appeared, armored, sneering. "To the Council and to humanity, your myths are dust. The Dominion takes what it desires. Your elders lied. Humans are weak. Your colonies will fall." The message ended in a roar of alien laughter. Delegates shouted over one another. Some demanded retaliation, others begged for restraint. The speaker called for calm, but the chamber had already dissolved into chaos. The elders lowered their heads, faces shadowed in shame. Elias Rourke stood unmoving, eyes fixed on the fading hollow. He felt no surprise, only a cold certainty settling in his chest. The warlord had tested the line. The galaxy would learn again what the elders had tried to teach. He turned from the chamber, ignoring the storm of voices behind him. His boots echoed against the polished floor, steady, deliberate. As the doors closed, he spoke in a whisper meant for no ears but his own. They were warned. The fires of Halvanar Prime burned for 3 days. Rescue ships arrived too late, salvaging wreckage where markets had stood. Survivors huddled in shattered domes, faces streaked with ash and grief. Images of the carnage spread across every channel, mothers carrying children through smoke, dock workers digging barehanded through rubble, soldiers finding only silence beneath collapsed towers. The Dominion had not merely struck, they had humiliated. In the council chambers, blame replaced action. Delegates argued over definitions of treaty law while the dead lay unburied. Elias Rourke listened from the shadows of the envoy's platform, arms folded behind his back. Each speech sounded the same: caution, delay, endless words. His jaw tightened until it hurt. "The humans must show restraint," one envoy demanded. "Escalation endangers us all." "Restraint?" snapped an elder Cravan. "Did you not see the flames? How much more must burn before you act?" The speaker raised his voice, but authority cracked under the noise. The chamber devolved into clashing voices, more theater than governance. No fleet moved, no sanction passed. The galaxy watched Paralysis masquerade as wisdom. When adjournment was declared, Rourke walked the silent corridor back to the human delegation's quarters. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Mara Voss, was waiting. She was younger by a decade, sharp-eyed, her uniform still dusty from transit. She had seen the images too. "They'll do nothing," she said flatly. "Not a patrol, not even an embargo. They'll debate until the Dominion bleeds us dry." Rourke answered with measured calm. "The Council fears their own shadows more than they fear warlords. They mistake our patience for weakness." He paused, studying the gleam of fury in her eyes. "They have forgotten what we are." "Then remind them," she pressed. The words echoed what he had already decided. That night, Rourke convened his officers aboard the stealth carrier Resolute, hidden in a dry dock far from prying eyes. The war room was a sphere of glowing star charts, red Dominion markers spreading across the frontier. Faces around the table were grim: captains, strategists, engineers, each summoned without official sanction. "We've been ordered to wait," Rourke began. "Halvanar Prime paid for that hesitation. If we obey, more colonies will fall. I will not stand idle while civilians burn." Captain Dreyer leaned forward, voice heavy. "Defying the Council makes us outlaws." Rourke's gaze did not waver. "So be it. Better an outlaw than a coward." Silence followed, thick and heavy. Then Mara Voss spoke, her voice cutting through. "We act, or humanity dies by inches. We all know it. The only question is how far we're willing to go." One by one, heads nodded. The weight of decision became resolve. Rourke tapped a sequence on the console. Hidden fleet schematics filled the chamber, destroyers retrofitted with rail batteries, carriers armed with drone swarms, orbital cannons capable of tearing battleships apart. The Council had never seen the true extent of human upgrades, because they had never needed to. 2 centuries of silence bought us time, Rourke said. We built quietly, watched, waited. The Dominion believes the myth of weakness. Tomorrow, they learn truth. Preparations began at once. Engineers rushed through hangar bays, welding armor plates, sealing missile racks. Pilots ran final checks, sliding helmets over tense faces. Soldiers loaded dropships with medical kits and ammunition. In the armory, Marines carved names of fallen colonies into their rifles. None spoke of fear. Only determination remained. Mara intercepted Rourke outside the strategy deck. Her tone carried both admiration and doubt. If we do this, there's no return. The Council may turn on us as well. They can condemn us after the colonies are safe, Rourke replied. History will decide whether we are villains or saviors. For now, survival matters more than reputation. Her lips tightened into something between a smile and a grimace. Then let's make sure survival is undeniable. Hours later, the fleet was ready. Hidden docks opened, revealing warships bristling with power. Engines roared as vessels slid into the void, stars reflected in armored hulls. Crews stood at stations, silent but focused, each pulse of machinery echoing their heartbeat. In the command chair aboard the Resolute, Rourke surveyed his fleet. Beyond the viewport, rows of destroyers aligned with perfect precision, carriers unfolding like predators stretching wings. He opened the channel, his voice reaching every ship. Men and women of humanity, the Dominion has mistaken our silence for surrender. They murdered our colonists and laughed as they burned. The Council will not act, but we will. Tomorrow, the galaxy remembers why we were feared. Tomorrow, humanity speaks with fire. The reply thundered across the channel, a roar of voices united. Humanity endures. Mara stood at his side as the fleet pivoted toward the jump corridor. Her voice dropped to a whisper only he could hear. They wanted proof we weren't myth. Rourke's eyes never left the stars ahead. Then proof is what they'll get. Engines ignited, tearing light across the void. The fleet surged forward, silent and unstoppable, vanishing into the warp lanes toward Dominion space. The spark had been lit. Retribution was no longer a threat, it was already on its way. The Threxerai fleet gathered near the mining world of Jorvok, basking in their recent victories. Cruisers drifted in loose formation, their crews gorging themselves on captured supplies, confident no resistance could challenge them. Warlord Varys Cuthon stood at the center of his flagship's command bridge, clawed hands resting on the railing. His officers traded boasts of colonies burned and humans broken. Laughter filled the air like smoke after a fire. See how the Council whimpers, Varys said, his voice carrying across the chamber. Not one ship moves against us. Humanity is nothing but ash waiting for the wind. Before his words faded, alarms blared. Red symbols flooded the tactical displays, dozens of warp signatures blooming at once. The Dominion officers froze, disbelief etched across their faces. Impossible, one hissed. No fleet could. The void erupted. Human destroyers emerged in perfect formation, their hulls black against the stars. Carriers followed, drones swarming like a rising storm. At their heart, the Resolute arrived, its guns already primed. Commander Elias Rourke sat in the command chair, eyes steady. Target their command ships first. No hesitation. Rail batteries fired. Metal slugs accelerated to hypersonic speeds, piercing Dominion cruisers before shields registered the threat. Explosions ripped through the formation, shattering vessels that had grown arrogant in easy conquest. In seconds, the battle shifted from swagger to chaos. On Varys's bridge, officers shouted in panic. Shields collapsing! Engines failing! Varys slammed his fist against the console. Hold formation! Crush them with numbers! But numbers meant nothing against precision. Human cyber warfare teams infiltrated Dominion networks, turning navigation arrays against their own crews. Fighters, blind and confused, collided with allies. Drones cut through the confusion, detonating warheads inside docking bays. Mara Voss's voice rang through the Resolute's deck. Enemy flagship identified. Feeding coordinates. Rourke nodded once. Focus fire. A storm of missiles streaked through the void, weaving past broken defenses to hammer the flagship's shields. Each impact stripped another layer until the protective barrier flickered and died. The ship shuddered, its hull groaning under the assault. Varys snarled, defiance burning even as his fleet collapsed. They think themselves gods. I will tear their commander apart. Across the battlefield, human marines descended on captured outposts. Drop pods slammed into Dominion stations, doors blasting open as armored soldiers poured out. Hallways turned into killing grounds, efficient, merciless, methodical. Civilians once enslaved were freed, stumbling into the arms of rescuers. For every tear of relief, there was a soldier's vow, never again. Inside one liberated dome, a rescued colonist clutched a Marine's arm. We thought no one would come. The Marine's visor hid his face, but his words were steady. We always come. The phrase traveled like wildfire through the comms, spreading to soldiers, pilots, and officers alike. Humanity had returned to the fight, not as victims, but as executioners of justice. Back on the Resolute, Mara leaned toward Rourke. They're breaking. Half their fleet already in retreat. Rourke's eyes narrowed. No mercy. End it now. The human fleet surged forward. Orbital cannons deployed from carriers, their blasts carving through fleeing ships like blades through glass. The Dominion's war cry, once deafening, dissolved into screams of surrender. On the flagship, Varys's defiance faltered as fire erupted across his command deck. Consoles burst into flames, crew thrown from their posts. He staggered to the railing, eyes locked on the advancing human fleet. This cannot be, he whispered, voice trembling. The elders lied, they had to have lied. A final transmission cut across his comms. Rourke's voice, cold and clear. You were warned. The next volley tore through the flagship's core. Fire consumed it, fragments scattering across the void until nothing remained of the warlord who had mocked humanity. The battle ended in less than an hour. Dominion fleets that had terrorized the frontier for months were reduced to wreckage drifting in silence. Human warships formed up again, not a single vessel lost to the arrogance of their foe. On the Council's homeworld, the chamber once filled with laughter now echoed with stunned silence. Delegates watched the feed in disbelief, Dominion ships annihilated, survivors kneeling before human soldiers, banners of conquest reduced to ash. The elders rose, ancient eyes gleaming with vindication. You see now, one said quietly. We tried to warn you. This is humanity unbound. No delegate dared to answer. Aboard the Resolute, Rourke stood before the viewport, watching Dominion wreckage scatter into endless night. His officers waited for orders, but none came immediately. The weight of what they had done pressed against the glass between him and the stars. Mara broke the silence. It's over. The frontier is safe, for now. Rourke shook his head. Safety is never permanent. But they will remember this day. And memory is enough. She studied him, voice softer. What if the council condemns us? They can write their verdicts in marble, Rourke said. The truth is carved here, in fire. They will fear us again, and in that fear there will be peace. The fleet turned slowly, engines igniting as they set course back to human space. Behind them, Dominion space lay in ruins, the warlord's dream extinguished before it could grow. Ahead, a galaxy now understood what the elders had never stopped whispering. As the Resolute jumped into warp, Rourke allowed himself one final thought, silent but certain. The galaxy forgot the warnings. Now, it will never forget again.